basketball para sa mga Pinoy ay isang equalizing factor. Mayaman, mahirap, kaya mo makakapaglaro ka ng basketball.
Imposibleng mabura ang basketball sa buhay, sa dugo ng mga Pilipino.
They say that you can actually sum up the Filipino passion in just two images, a hoop and a basketball. But to say that basketball is one of the favorite pastimes of the Filipino would be similar to saying that football is one of the favorite hobbies of England and Brazil. Boys and girls, the story of a national obsession is what we are about to find out as we scroll back through the pages of time in the very first episode of Basketball Almanac.
But if there's a dead ball situation, now they can call for a 30-second injury timeout.
To say that Filipinos love basketball would be a grave understatement. Almost every day, like the songs of Air Supply, Videoke, and noontime game shows, Pinoys live and breathe basketball. Basketball and its elements pervade the Philippine landscape and is, in fact, a part of our cultural ozone layer. No doubt it has developed into a unique culture with a following that can rival any sport in the planet today.
Justin runs out of room. Tenorio has to fire. Bang! Oh, wow!
In fact, basketball has been a unifying force for a country often fractured by politics and other issues. But how did a foreign invention meant to enforce the Americans' policy of benevolent assimilation eventually went on to become not just a national passion, but a galvanizing factor of Pinoy culture as well? Sports historian Gerald Gems saw how the Americans utilized basketball to wield their diplomatic power by cultivating the goodwill of the Filipinos. In his work, Sport and the American Occupation of the Philippines, Bats, Balls, and Bayonets, he described this power as a means to instill new value system predicated on the concept of teamwork and sportsmanship. Basketball was then promoted in public schools as part of the physical education curriculum with the help of the Young Men's Christian Association, or the YMCA. Believe it or not, basketball was actually introduced as a women's sport in 1910. That's because the men were playing baseball. Soon after, men were allowed to play hoops, and the first national team was formed that year. The country's first basketball team trained their guns against their Asian neighbors and captured its first championship in the inaugural staging of the Far Eastern Games in 1913. So dominant was the national team that it won 9 out of the 10 basketball titles in the Far Eastern Games succeeding editions until 1934. This is the pamantasan ng lungsod ng Maynila, inside Intramuros in Manila, founded in 1965. But did you know that in this exact area, although we cannot pinpoint specifically where, the country's first ever basketball court was built more than 100 years ago? Most of the members of the pre-war Philippine team played in the National Collegiate Athletic Association, or the NCAA. Established in 1924, the country's first school league was patterned after the US NCAA's multi-sports format. But basketball, no doubt, was the center of attention. In 1938, the University's Athletic Association of the Philippines, or the UAAP, was formed. another venue which served the country's top basketball prospects. And between these rival leagues' existence, the Manila Industrial Commercial Athletic Association, or the MICA, rose in 1934 to become the country's first commercial basketball league and the forerunner of the PBA.
From the school system, players were being called to represent the country in the international field. So, nagkaroon ngayon ng opening o kaya an opportunity to fill the gap. There's a gap. That gap was filled by a commercial league. When people realized the popularity of basketball, ang sabi nila, okay, between the college system and the national team, why don't we have a commercial league where companies would sponsor teams and give an opportunity for college players upon graduation to make basketball a living para magkaroon sila ng pagkakakitaan sa basketball.
That's how Philippine basketball evolved since the Americans arrived in 1898. Just 7 years after James Naismith invented the sport using only a peach basket and a soccer ball.
Timing na timing, nung pinapakalat na yung basketball sa Amerika, nadamay na tayo. Kaya we were the very first Asian country actually to play basketball.
In 1946, the United States left the Philippines after World War II. But there was one thing that stayed behind. Basketball, which has found a new home in the streets and in the hearts of the Americans' little brown brothers. The only time the Philippines lost the basketball crown in the 10 stagings of the pre-war Far Eastern Games was in 1921. The Filipinos lost to host China 30-27 in what most basketball historians considered a hometown decision. But in 1923, the country regained the title, dethroning China, thanks to the 116-point explosion of Luis "Lou" Salvador, whose feat remains unmatched today by any national team member in international play. Lou is also the father of actor Philip Salvador.
Why do we love basketball even if it's a big man's game? But you know what they say? It's not about the size. It's not about the height. It's all about hustle, speed, and most of all, smarts. And believe it or not, once upon a time, we have managed to deploy all these elements against the toughest and the biggest opponents the planet had to offer.
For nearly 4 decades before World War II, the Filipinos were the undisputed kings of Asian basketball. But the world is a much bigger playground, especially if you're competing in the Olympics. In 1936, basketball became an official Olympic sport, recognized by Hitler's Nazi Germany as tournament hosts. That same year, the Philippines became part of FIBA, the sport's world governing body, and joined the Berlin Games. Known as the Islanders, the team led by Ambrosio Padilla, Jacinto Siria Cruz, and Primitivo Martinez placed 5th out of 21 countries, braving the heat and the open dirt courts, not to mention the racial prejudice and political undertones of Hitler's so-called Aryan Olympics. To this day, that 5th place finish is still the highest achievement by any Asian country in Olympic basketball history, despite the Philippines being one of the shortest teams in that tournament. For former Olympian and Senator Freddie Webb, the Filipino cager has acquainted himself to playing the underdog card on the international stage. But like his contemporaries, going up against much bigger opponents has been a constant narrative throughout his life.
Nakikisali lang ako eh. Sali lang ako, malakas ang loob ko. Kahit na sabihin mong malaki yan, lalaro ako, sali ako dyan, sali-sali.
This height disadvantage hardly figured anew in the country's quest for further basketball glory outside Asia. In 1954, the Philippines joined the FIBA World Basketball Championships for the very first time. But the undersized tournament rookies pulled off a surprise, finishing 3rd and losing only to the United States and host Brazil. The team flourished with the heads of play of the legendary Carlos "The Big Difference" Loizaga, who was also named in the Mythical Five.
The thing about Philippine basketball is that sa passion natin, sa dedication natin sa laro, parang hindi na nagiging masyadong handicap yung height. Nung si Kaloy Loizaga ay naglalaro sa Pilipinas in 1954 World Championships, yung mga kalaban natin malalaki din eh. Yet Kaloy Loizaga, who stood anywhere between 6'2 and 6'3", was the World Championships' second leading scorer. For me, that was an indication that while Kaloy Loizaga was playing the center position, he had a lot of ability.
The Philippines went on to play in 4 other World Championships, including the modern-day World Cup held in Spain in 2014. From 1936, the country also saw action in 7 Olympic tournaments. The last was in Munich, Germany in 1972. Webb, who was part of that last Philippine Olympic team, vividly remembers fighting for flag and country alongside fellow basketball icons Yoyong Martires, Dox Adornado, Danny Florencio, Jimmy Mariano, Pedro Campo, Manny Paner, among many others.
I want to show that I can make the Philippine team, which is a paramount concern more than the money. But then again, how many really put that into the minds, the heart, and the soul of an athlete, which is the Philippine team. Gusto kong manalo, hindi lang para sa sarili ko, para sa aking mga kababayan.
After its 1954 World Championship feat, it has been an arduous uphill climb to the world stage for Philippine basketball. But the country remained a powerhouse in Asian basketball from the 1950s to the early 1990s. It won 4 straight basketball golds in the Asian Games from 1951 to 1962. The Filipinos also ruled the FIBA Asia Championship, then known as the Asian Basketball Championship, 5 times in fact, between 1960 to 1985, not to mention its 4-decade dominance in the Southeast Asian Games. From there on, a new breed of basketball idols would emerge.
Right now, this just looks like a mute witness to a very busy street in downtown Manila. But once upon a time, this place has been the battlefield for the many wars the Philippines has fought against the best of Asia and the world.
Built in 1934, it's also the venue where many of the country's basketball legends have honed their skills for battle in the SEA Games, Asian Games, Olympics, and World Championships. It even housed the PBA, the NCAA, and the UAAP Games for decades.
If there's such a thing as a shrine to Philippine basketball, this would be it. The Rizal Memorial Coliseum.
Sociologist Gerald Abergos sees more than just hero worship among Filipino basketball fans. He believes that these fans channel their hardcore idols' heroics as living expressions of their own sporting ambitions.
Iba-iba ang mga viewers, iba-iba ang gusto nilang superstar nila, idol nila. There's a basketball player for the shorter ones that are very, very fast na ginugusto naman ng mga short people pero who would like to play basketball. There are basketball idols naman na who are tall and strong, mga giants, in which the giants naman ng mga viewers really adore them. There are basketball players who look that good and the girls like them because, wow, athletic. A fine specimen of a male figure. So gustong-gusto naman nila.
Brown gets a pass. He fires and misses. Ace King pulls it down. Nobody there for the possible rebound for Great Taste. And Brown recovers. A good screen by Manny Paner, but we've got a block going against him.
And it did not take long before Filipino basketball fans found a new home.
Ready.
The birth of the Philippine Basketball Association.
That man is loaded with championship experience. A perfect maneuver there.
The Philippines was the first country to issue a basketball-themed stamp. The 16-centavo stamp was released on April 4, 1934 to celebrate the country's hosting of the 10th and last Far Eastern Games. The biennial meet was held at the newly inaugurated Rizal Memorial Sports Complex. Also in that same tournament, the Philippines won its 9th Far Eastern Games basketball title.
Lakas nun ah. Well, no blood, no foul. That's rather one way of describing Filipino style of basketball. But there's more to Pinoy basketball than just the physicality element. There's also the frantic street ball sort of approach. And more importantly, the element of discarte, street smart approach. Ano yan? Game. Maki, bantay.
They go to Brownlee. 4 seconds left. 3 seconds. Brownlee for the win. Oh my God! Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
The PBA is not just a league. It is the promised land for aspiring Filipino cagers and the mecca of Philippine basketball. But what makes the PBA a true reflection of the country's brand of basketball? PBA Chairman Ricky Vargas considers it a product of decades of exposure to international basketball and that desire to overcome physical limitations.
Ang larong Pinoy, may konting FIBA, may konting larong kalye, may konting NBA. So yun ang larong Pinoy. Huwag lang magsakitan. Kuminsan nga yung larong Pinoy, wala nang referee.
Coach Shot Reyes and his valiant Gilas Pilipinas squad brandished this uncanny style of play in the 2014 FIBA World Cup in Spain. But for the Filipino cager, the road to greatness usually starts in something more humble. The concrete jungles of the city or in the muddy fields of the countryside. Just ask Freddie Webb, former Olympian and PBA player.
There was a court right across our house. Ang tawag doon ay Pulan Lupa. At doon sa court na yon ay walang party ata doon na pantay. Lahat ay may butas, may lubog, may ganyan habang kayo naglalaro. Doon ako natuto. Doon ako napamahal sa basketball.
The dirt-covered playing ground and dearth of equipment forced these young men to be creative, resourceful, and persistent.
Just to get a trunk of coconut tree, put a board and put a ring, you can play basketball.
Kumuha lang ako ng alambre na galing sa sampayan. Susuksok ko lang ganun sa sawali yun, bibilugan ko lang, tapos susuksok ko. Yun na yun. Tapos nun, yung bola ko nun, yung pang tennis.
Hindi mahal maglaro, basta makahanap ka ng bola, may goal dyan sa kalye, game na.
Ray Bartholomew, a Fulbright scholar who studied the country's basketball culture, shares the same view. In his book, Pacific Rims, he noted the sheer joy Filipinos got from makeshift basketball courts, whether in the busy streets of Metro Manila or in the quiet brown patches of the provinces. These improvised courts can be attached to a tree, erected in open lots, beside railroads, and in these products of architectural ingenuity, we just damn play our hearts out, whether in flip-flops or barefooted.
Basketball has led to us, Filipinos, to be innovative. Since wala tayong that much na basketball facility for public, may bayad, may renta, may maintenance. So, because of that, people have been very creative. So, what do? Gawin natin tong ring ng basketball. They would fashion it to become a basketball hoop. They would ask for a plyboard, and then they would fasten it there. Tapos maghahanap sila ng lugar kung saan pwedeng isabit yon.
Pass inside to Calvin Abueva. Power move going up. He lost it and Jewel Ponferrada knocked out.
Basketball could sometimes descend into a gladiator sport. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you elbows flying, colliding bodies, scenes of bloody noses, and pricked egos. It prescribes a macho subtext. But the Filipinos' highly physical style of play doesn't usually result into a basket brawl, let alone a mindless free-for-all in the streets where it was born.
Conscious exchange there between Almazan and Almazan better be careful. Nobody's gonna get thrown out right now for sure.
Beyond seamless action or instant gratification, we simply love the game, the beauty of its pace, and the boundless excitement it generates. Enough to surmount any challenge that may come our way, on and off the court.
It's a very, very action-packed arena. It's a very, very action-packed game. For people who have, low attention span, a split second can change the lives of people, can change the lives of the community, of the country, because the ball entered the hoop in a split second. A single error could change the way the game would progress.
Baguio. Oh, he's open! Yes! Look good! Yes! It looks good all the way! Yes! It looked good all the way. Just when you thought you've seen everything, something new comes up.
Indeed, basketball has found a home on this side of the planet, and it will make its biggest homecoming when the country once again hosts the FIBA World Cup in 2023.
Basketball, a sport that demands vertical athleticism and is something that's not suited, they say, to the Filipino physique. But who the hell cares? We have embraced basketball as something of our own, something which we have embedded in our own cultural DNA. Now, Filipino basketball is something that has local appeal but international flavor, creativity, and reinvention. That is what Filipino basketball is all about. I'm Lourdes Vera, and this has been Basketball Almanac.